Ted, we'll come back to you with this next question. Can you just talk about exploring options such as expanding your list of schools and things related to that?
Absolutely. And I think, we've touched on this. I think these are new times, and you need to be adaptable, you need to be creative, and you need to explore all your options. And the way I take my clients through it is first, let's take an inventory of where we're at. Let's take an inventory of what's the communication. And Nikki touched on it, and Susan touched on it. Communication is a huge thing all along. Communicate to these coaches that you're interested in. Where do you stand? Are you recruiting for my year? If you're not recruiting for my year, would you consider me for the next year? So I think the inventory is so important, so you understand where you're at. And then at that point, you can say, okay, what can I do? And I'm going to go over four options. The first one is just expanding your list, looking at maybe different regions of the country, maybe looking at Division II and Division III schools, or even NAI schools, and really making sure that you're covering the landscape. Because at this point, I would say that you'd probably want a bigger list than a smaller list, because everything's constantly changing, as we've seen some schools have dropped their program. And so to prepare for that, a little bigger list at this time would be good, and reevaluating your criteria to say, hey, is there anything I can give on? Can I add a couple states here or there to potentially open my eyes to schools that I otherwise haven't thought of? And one of the key resources I want to emphasize is the Ping American Golf Guide, collegegolf.com. Just a tremendous resource. So as you're trying to expand your list, you can search for new states, divisions, majors, SAT, student population in that school. So you've got a great search engine to take this big world of college golf and potentially add some more options to your list that may be worth exploring. So number one is expanding your list using the Ping American Golf Guide. Number two option is a post-grad year. And the post-grad year, essentially it allows you must take less than a minimum full load of college unit courses. And if you do that, it allows you to basically defer your grad year back 1 year. So it gives you an additional year to play in tournaments, potentially to bolster your academics, and maybe to create some more options that you otherwise didn't have. For instance, if you're sitting here and you're a 2020 graduate and you don't know what you're going to do, a post-grad year could be a very viable option for you to give you more time to compete. Obviously, a lot of people were hoping they were going to play in the spring and a lot this summer. And if you don't have that window, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So you just need more time. So that post-grad year can be a great potential opportunity for some. Another opportunity is a junior college route. And a junior college route there are 2-year schools. During my 14 years of doing this, I've had a few take that route. A couple benefits. One, you get, like kind of the post-grad year, you get more time to build your resume and bolster your academics. Now, I will say, once you start junior college, and there's college golf in junior college, your clock starts. But junior college also offers very inexpensive classes, so you can get a lot of your general education done at a junior college in an inexpensive manner relative to other schools. And then you could transfer to a 4-year school after 1 or 2 years. So again, I understand these aren't necessarily all for everybody, but I know there's people out there that can relate to some of these options and may be a good fit. The last one I just wanted to touch on was the club golf option. So club golf is the NCCGA. You can go to nextgengolf.com. And I know I've talked to the other advisors about this, and I've had clients that have gone this route. It's a great way if kids still want to go to a big time school, big time athletics, they love the school, maybe they got a bunch of academic aid, but they're not yet at the level where they could play at the NCAA sport level, but they could still go to the school. They could still represent the school in club golf. It's student run, it's co-ed. They have a national championship in the fall and the spring. So it's a great way for some to go to the college they love, but still be engaged in the game and still have an ability to compete for the university they love. Again, this is not for everybody, but I think it's important in these times, as we said from the onset, the final analysis, you want to consider everything. And as you matriculate through this process and you communicate with coaches and you get a better sense of how are they evaluating you, how are you evaluating them, and really understanding where you sit, it might open your eyes to exploring some of these other options. And the bottom line is there's a place for everybody at all levels. One path is not for everybody. There's many different paths you can take to find success. And I just think it's, it's an important time to take a good inventory of where you're at and look at all these options.
Nikki or Susan, anything before we move on to add there?
I had just a couple quick points on one of the strategies that Ted mentioned as families think about expanding their list of options or possibilities as far as their pursuit of college golf. The post-grad year, I remember in my days of coaching, and I've had this question from families when I've mentioned the strategy. Basically, where you're able to matriculate 1 year later than you would have initially started college, and it gets you an extra summer of competitive golf and just extends your timeline, and that is permissible, at all levels of college golf or college golf. But I've had some families say, gosh, is that frowned upon by coaches, or somehow does it have a negative connotation? And I would actually say a 180 from that. I mean, I recruited players that took a little more time, and it was for various reasons, but I think everyone that I recruited that came onto a golf team that I was coaching, they just knew they were more mature, more settled about what they wanted to get out of their college career. And I found those experiences very positive. And I think the sport that we're involved in here, us as advisors and the families, golf's a long race sport, maybe a little different from some other ones, which can have it's more of a sprint to get there, and it's a tighter timeline even after college. Golf's just, the more time you have to develop, mature, improve your skills, I think it's always for the best. So I think just so families know, the coaching audience, that strategy in particular, I think it's largely looked upon very favorably. So.